came here from the East, we had like this some kind of spiritual power. You know, you can call it magic, you can call it seers. Maybe like the indigenous people of South America or the Native American Indians, and that's how our history can be even parallel, because whether it's a good thing or not, you can always put it on the scale of history. But Stephen and his father, they realized that after we came here with 7 loosely related nomadic tribes on horses and our yurts from Asia, after about 100 years, they realized that if we wanted to stay here in Europe and survive as a nation, that we are going to have to adapt and adopt Christianity, adapt to the ways of the so-called civilized, Western Europe, adopt a new religion, which was totally new for us, and actually had to be forced on most of the population. And kind of, he also organized the 7 tribes into one nation, wrote the rules, the laws, kind of like a constitution, and organized the church, with the tithes and like how many churches should be in each district and all that kind of thing. So he actually created the country. And so the people who wanted the old religion, the Eastern religion, they were called the pagans, and they really resisted Christianity. Like to them, if you can imagine, like with all that like tradition and everything, like today we're a Christian nation and it's part of our history, but like back then it must have been very hard to like really take on something new. And an interesting thing is that they studied and realized that a lot of the old pagan traditions, like something that's closer to nature and like the natural cycles and things like that, they were incorporated into the Christian holidays. So some of the holidays are using these old traditional thoughts and ideas of fertility and all these things. But I guess this happens in many other cultures, but just to know that actually St. Stephen is the one over the gate there, the main gate. Actually, that's the door that's always open only during weddings. That's where the couple comes out. Normally the entrance is on 2 sides. You can always see him with the crown, the holy crown of the Hungarians on his head. We have a tilted cross. It's for historic reasons, because one time during the centuries it got damaged, and now the original crown is actually, along with all the other crown jewels, is in the parliament, underneath the dome. And you can see with the special guided tour of the parliament, there's debate whether or not that was really the crown on his head, more than 1,000 years ago. Some people say that no, it was a new crown during the centuries. The real believers say that was the one on his head. But it is tilted, and nobody touches it now. It's tilted in every portrayal, picture, painting, because that's how we've accepted it. That's how we've internalized it. Because also they're afraid that if they ever want to, make it right, it's just going to break off. But also once I had someone on my tour, and they said like, they're kind of laughing, like, why is it crooked and like tilted? Like, how can you portray it like that? And then I thought about it and said, well, that's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You don't want to like push that back. That's how it is. And they were like, oh yeah. So some things are just like that. Above him, of course, a beautiful rendition of Jesus Christ. It's actually one of the better ones, I think, because he's so colorful, and there's a rainbow, and I think that's what Christianity should be about, not the gloom and doom. I don't want to hurt anyone's, affiliation or belief system. I just really think that he's more about the love and the joy originally. And then we have a Latin writing on there. So students of Bard College, we were talking about Romance languages now. Who can maybe decipher this? Maybe from your Spanish knowledge or Italian.
Vita is life.
Yeah? Veritas?
Ego is self.
Ego is self or I. Very good.
Veritas. Any idea?
Via is also easy for English speakers, because I'm going via Seattle, via. So road or path. Some I would have never guessed, because I didn't really learn Latin, but it means am. So I am way, truth, and the light. Yes.
Okay.
In Hungarian, well, it's not in Hungarian, it's in Latin, but because of our being in Europe, we have a few sayings that we still kind of say in Latin. And there's one, in vinum veritas, and it means the truth is in the wine. Drink, you tend to say the truth, so that's how. So on top, last story, because I think it's nice and important. In the middle, there's a lady with a crown and the baby. So obviously, who must she be? If you have to take a wild guess.
Mary.
Yes, but why does she have a crown?
Queen of Heaven.
Exactly. And she obviously is the Queen of Heaven. You can make that metaphor for all of Christianity, but for Hungarians, that has a special importance, because you see actually St. Stephen is tied to her right, our left, and he's looking up at her in reverence and respect. And to his left, right, our left, is actually a boy with a lute. That's a young boy of about 15, so that was his son Emmerich, or Imre in Hungarian. Unfortunately, his only one son, who he educated his whole life to be the next king, everything he needed to know. And he died in a hunting accident in the forest when they were hunting for wild boar.
Oh.
And unfortunately, yeah, it's actually very tragic. I also once thought about it, like how hard that must have been for him. And we don't know till this day, and they never found out back then either, if it was an actual accident or maybe like an assassination of the king's son. All he knew that when he was going to die, he wasn't going to have a successor. So in a symbolic gesture, he offered up the whole country to Virgin Mary, to Mother Mary, to guide us and protect us, and that's why we think of her as kind of the Queen of Hungary as well, and the Queen of Heavens. And if you, and I hope one day you get to go inside the church, on the right side there's a very famous big Hungarian painting on the wall, which portrays this moment when he's showing her the crown, the scepter, the sword, and the golden orb, all the symbols of the country offering up to her. So sometimes I actually think, I'm not particularly religious, but I think I'm kind of spiritual, and I like to incorporate a lot of belief systems, from everywhere. And I just think like we needed her help, with all the occupations, all the crushed revolutions, 2 world wars, being a small nation, and then chopped up after First World War, we needed that help. So thank you, Mother Mary.
Thank you,
and
Mother
also,
Mary.
Also Gabriel Archangel is very important. He's on the top of the column at the end of. Well, I'm talking like as if you knew, but I wish we had more time because the Andrássy Avenue is really very beautiful. So if you have a chance to walk, we'll see what time it is now. It's like really like Paris. So it's like all the high-end shops, restaurants, cafes, beautiful architecture, the Opera House, and at the very end of that 2-mile-long road, there's the Hero Square, which is a monumentally huge square with all the most important kings and rulers, in like 2 semicircular colonnades and like 2 museums and a big colonnade with a Gabriel Archangel on top. And he's kind of also thought to be like the protector of Hungary. So that's like Hungarian history in a very, very nutshell, especially connected to the Basilica. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. The height of the Basilica is very interesting because it's symbolic. Same height as the Parliament. It's exactly 96 meters. And I hope I remember correctly, I think that's something like 134 feet, that I may be off. 96 meters, but why not 100? Why not 95? Because I didn't tell you one important thing. When all these 7 tribes came to this land from Asia and said, this is going to be our home, that was, according to some historians, in 896, so in the 9th century, 896. So in 1896, 1,000 years of us being here, you can imagine what a big party the whole country wanted to throw. Everybody was celebrating, actually so much that most of the buildings that you can see around here were really built for that, with that date in mind. We wanted to show that we're as grand as Vienna, we're as big as Vienna, we wanted equality. That's when the Austro-Hungarian monarchy was still very fresh, like the dual monarchy. So we were always in competition. So 1896 was a big deal, and that's why it's 96 meters. So is the parliament, and in theory there's a law that you cannot build any building higher. But unfortunately, a couple of years ago, sometimes money talks louder than words. It's a new expression I coined. There's a Hungarian gas and oil company. And I'm pretty sure that there was some, financial pressure or rewards there. I don't want to suggest anything, but they actually changed the law that in that special district they can build buildings and they give a totally random number, like higher than, so that we can have our first skyscraper. And I think it's kind of sad because, there are many cities with skyscrapers, and maybe we could have been one that's unique for not having one. And we have this tradition, but hopefully they'll stop at that one. Which is a little bit of an eyesore when you walk on the Danube. You see all the nice old bridges and then, yeah, why? But anyway, so I hope that you enjoy these stories. And can anybody give me a time, maybe?
It is 5:50.